And we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 3 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've enjoyed our weekly chats with educators and game changers from around the country. This week, we've got another great guest. But first, we like to introduce ourselves. I'm Adam Welcome, elementary principal in California, the Bay Area, Danville. I actually got my Monterey Roadrunners sweatshirt on today, a little school pride. We're the Roadrunners.
Nice. I'm Todd Nesloni. I'm a principal in Navasota, Texas at Webb Elementary. And we have a special guest with us tonight. Aaron, you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Aaron Marvel, assistant principal at Navasota Elementary, Webb Elementary. Actually, you may not know, but Todd Nesloni is my principal. So I'm pretty excited to be on the show with him.
Hey, we're excited to have you, Aaron, for sure. And we want to remind all of our viewers who are watching as well that you can participate along with us, and you can ask questions in the chat, and we will definitely be able to somebody's echoing. We'll be able to get to those questions, and we'll throw some of yours in as well. So be sure to ask some questions out in the chat. And it's great to see some of y'all here like Cass and Peggy. Good to see y'all. So, Adam?
Yeah, so Aaron, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I have a degree in Spanish and in writing. And after I finished my degrees, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was going to graduate in May several years back. And then I got a call from a principal that I knew from back home. And he said, "Hey, you want to teach Spanish?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I kind of fell into education. Been teaching, I taught for 5 years, Spanish and English language arts and reading. 1 year as an instructional coach. And this will be my first year as an assistant principal this year.
Good to go. Hey, make sure everyone uses the Kids Deserve It hashtag throughout the blab. Also fun, Peter DeWitt in his latest Ed Week post this morning used Kids Deserve It hashtag and gave Todd and myself a shout out. So Peter, if you're on the call, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. So Aaron, talk to us a little bit about what kind of led you to where you are now.
Well, I kind of like to start, when people ask me that question, I like to start back when I actually had a guy from Burkina Faso live in my home. And most people don't know where Burkina Faso is, but it's close to the Ivory Coast, West Africa, extremely poor country. He came to live in my home. When we first drove up, he saw my garage door opener. He saw me push the button, and the garage came up, and he goes, "Whoa, what was that?" Because, he'd never seen anything like that. We got in the home. He started looking at all the mechanical things that we have, things that he'd never even imagined. He was trying to figure out how the can opener works, just things like that. One day he walked through. We had washed all his clothes. And he said, "Guys, you don't have to wash my clothes." And I said, "No, we just throw it in the washing machine. It's no issue." But in his mind, he had to wash everything by hand. So it was just a big perceptive change for me. And I bring that into education now, and I realize that a lot of my kids, they don't come from the same background that I know, that I grew up with. And I try to use that in everything that I study and everything that I apply in my job. And if you want, I can go into kind of some of that, but I didn't know if you were going to ask about that later. But a lot of people don't know I'm a doctoral student right now at Texas A&M, and I study a lot about educational psychology. And a lot of that has to do with student backgrounds, what helps students learn the best. And so that kind of leads me to kind of my mission statement now.
What's your mission statement, Aaron? Let's hear it.
Sure. Well, my mission statement is to bring a quality education to everyone from all backgrounds. And my eventual passion is to go into other parts of the world to help kids who don't get any kind of education and to give those institutions for them. But then, the more I'm in education, the more I realize that happening right now in our own backyard and in the United States. Kids aren't getting the education sometimes that they need. A lot of times because of their backgrounds, home life, things like that. And through some of my studies, I really begin to study about three things, something called self-constructs. And self-concept, self-efficacy, and self-esteem. A lot of people talk a lot about self-esteem and how we need to build up.
Hold on, Adam, does this sound weird to you too?
Yep.
So I don't know, Aaron, if that's your mic or what. Let's try again. I'm hearing a lot of echo. Is anybody else hearing echo?
I'm not.
I don't know where that's coming from either. Is it from your computer, Adam? I don't know.
I don't think so. Aaron, I want to say something real fast. What you said about bringing that perspective from other countries into your classroom, I think that's so important. We can get focused on our little bubble and what we're doing in our four walls and our campus. And, it's so important to not just look across our district, our state, our country, but open up. The world is so much smaller. I mean, we can be connected. We are connected with people all over the world. And it's so important just to bring those stories. Right now in my school, actually, we're raising money for the Wheelchair Foundation. And $150 buys one wheelchair for somebody in another country that would not be able to get around otherwise. And kids see pictures from like deep in the jungles of Peru and these little islands, and they're just blown away because
that's awesome.
They come to school in air conditioning and leather seats, right? And it's just really, really good perspective. So what's something that you're really proud of right now that is innovative or kind of pushing the limits that you haven't done in the past? Maybe something you're really proud of.
Well, currently at our campus, a lot of people know about Angela Myers and the You Matter movement, and I know Todd is really big in that, but I kind of have a slightly different perspective on it, and that is helping kids realize that they can succeed, not just knowing that they're geniuses in something, but also helping them recognize that, to build that self-efficacy, to show kids when they come up with it for a challenge that, yes, I can approach it and I'm going to be successful in it. Because a lot of our kids, through their experiences have showed them that when I try something, I often fail. And we really, as teachers, have to help our kids see that they can succeed. And really, I see that happening in two ways. And that's one, teachers have to begin getting their kids to engage in their own self-assessment, their own evaluation of their work. Because when teachers think that grades are a motivation, and they're not. Grades are never going to get a kid really wanting to learn.
Right.
But that descriptive feedback, and if a kid can see on their own work, I did this well, or I need to work on this, then that's putting the responsibility on them.
That's exactly right. So, last year you were an instructional coach. This year you're an assistant principal. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges that you've faced or that you face currently in Texas as an assistant principal?
One of the biggest challenges, and I don't know if it's particular to Texas, but just being able to reach every single student. I know as educators, I think we're always wanting to reach everybody. And I think that's one of the challenges that I have to face in my own mind is I have to take one kid at a time. And I have to affect that one kid the best ability that I can and really disciple that kid and bring him up. And that kid will go forward and help other students. So it's not all about me. It's building up leaders, even in the students, and having them help other students.
That's right, man. Train the trainer. That's a model we've used. You train one person, they pass it along. It's that domino effect. Cass Nelson just talked about leadership. You bet. You know it, man. You know it. I like it. What's something that you've done that has failed miserably or has been just super difficult or just faced backlash? And then how did you grow from it?
Well, when I first came in as a Spanish teacher, first of all, let me ask you this. Do you know any kid that's gone through high school taking Spanish and then came out fluent in Spanish?
Nope.
No.
Never happens. And I think when I came into education, that was, just like every teacher, I came in with the fantasy. I'm going to have every kid they're going to learn so much. They're going to come out, they're going to speak in all this Spanish. And it didn't happen. First 2 years of teaching was pretty difficult. And then I started to do something called total physical response storytelling. It's a really academic word, but it's all about getting your kids up and learning Spanish and learning a language like you do your first language. And where there's not a whole lot of paperwork, you're just a lot of speaking, completely immersed in the language. And I did get some pushback because that's not traditional. My head of the department, she wanted it to be very grammar based and very based on paperwork and just very traditional work. But when I think they saw that my kids were excited about learning, they saw themselves improving, and they really thought, "Wow, I can do this." Then it became more like, okay, yeah, you can keep teaching like that because they're doing a good job. So.
Aaron, I love what you said. Traditional doesn't get you a job in 2015 in this workforce. Traditional doesn't get your resume out in front of everybody else. Traditional is 10, 15 years ago. Traditional is a chalkboard, man. You are putting those kids first, man. Todd, this guy is like preaching kids deserve it. I love it.
Well, and it's funny because you said traditional won't get you a job in the 2015 workforce. And then I'm the one that interviewed Aaron and saw some of the stuff he was talking about. So, yeah, that's exactly why I thought, that'd be good to have his voice as part of this conversation as well.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, Aaron, what advice would you have for others who may be facing adversity, especially at October, November? Those are kind of the hardest times of the year because you're off that high, you're in that dip right before it picks up again. So, what kind of advice would you have for others who may be facing adversity on their own campuses?
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was saying, because a lot of our struggles, I think, as teachers right now come from our kids also being worn out, and so just beat over the head with grades and expectations. And so do two things. I think, first of all, like I said, get your kids starting to be engaged in their own learning, and that is through assessing themselves, but also show your kids that they're growing. Make it obvious that they're learning. Make it obvious that they're growing in some skill or some knowledge, because when you do that, I think it really rejuvenates us, because that's why we're in the business. When we see our kids learning and improving and they're excited about it, then that brings us a new second wind.
Aaron, every week we like our guests to leave a challenge for our viewers. What is your challenge for Kids Deserve It this week? Bring it, man. Bring it.
Well, I suppose that it would be find that one thing. Choose that one kid that's been the biggest struggle in your class. Find out what truly interests him, what really gets him going, and then do something for that kid in particular, because I guarantee if you can get that kid on your side, it will change the atmosphere. It will change everything about that class. You'll get the rest of the kids excited, and you'll have 100 times better year.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aaron, for coming on with us tonight and being part of our third episode. It was great getting to have your voice and kind of hear some of the perspective. We want to thank everybody who's been watching as well. Make sure you try Aaron's challenge this week and share out your experiences with that challenge on Twitter using the Kids Deserve It hashtag, and also tagging us on Twitter at Kids Deserve It. And like Adam put in the comments along the side, you can also join our Remind group to receive different text messages throughout the week, little bits of encouragement and updates about us, Kids Deserve It, and the book coming out next year. You can text the @KidsDigIt to 81010, and you can join our Remind group. So thanks everyone for watching, and we hope to see you again next week.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Aaron.